Good evening, everybody. I'm Advocate Shantanu Dedicated this side, and I am really happy to bring with me to you from Skills Reform the very first webinar on the like one of the very less talked topics. That's something. This is something that I've been saying it from the very beginning. That growth mindset is something that is not spoken about much. They're not. I mean, even if you go out and try to research upon the same, there's very few content available on it. So, Skills Reform is an organization that is looking forward to create a sustainable ecosystem for skill augmentation of individuals and organizations that are aligned with the global industry needs. So, transition is something that this organization is pioneering at the moment, which actually lacks in the sector. Uh, Now, I will just quickly introduce the panelists for the day, and the first panelist for the day is Dr. Ashish Mittal. He is the regional manager at Niti Aayog and headmaster Indrapuram Public School. Dr. Mittal has been selected as a regional mentor of change under the project of Atal Innovation Mission by Niti Aayog, Government of India, to lead the Mentor of Change program. He has further been selected as a mentor of change under the project of Atal Innovation as uh, as a Niti Aayog Government of India official, and under the same, he considers his duty that he considers that nurturing students in the right mindset, values, and skills to become an innovator is something that he believes should be ingrained at the very outset. So, talking about our second panelist, Mr. Chetan Khurana is an entrepreneur. He's an innovator and entrepreneur with 14 years in media consulting and education, experienced in various aspects of business strategy, formation, operations, and management with a major focus on business execution excellence. He's an active listener, initiator, and problem solver, using creativity, resourcefulness, and assets to break down and overcome business obstacles has been his forte. During his education in LLM in IIM Lucknow, he worked on interesting projects on employability skills and business sustainability, and later worked with different organizations to successfully putting these ideas in execution. Thank you, sirs, for joining us today. And with that, I would like to open the discussion, and the topic being growth mindset. Now, it has often been said that sit with the champions, the discussion is different, the talk is different, and that is something is it tells you that why is that discussion different, because that mindset is different. And with that, I would like to open the discussion and ask Mr. Khurana that, so what do you understand when you dissect the term and then integrate it, growth mindset, and what does it entail, what does it mean?
Thanks, Shantanu, for a great introduction. Hi, Dr. Ashish Mittal. Shantanu, in 14 years of experience, I have seen a lot of challenges which has been thrown to me by mentors. And during this time, I have understood that, okay, the education that I have taken, it has a low impact than the mentorship. So mentorship has changed my perspective towards the goal, the achievements that one needs to have in their life. That mentorship has given me the passion, the perseverance, emotional intelligence, probably understanding the values of failure is what I have understood about the growth mindset. If you'll compare that with the fixed mindset, I would have not been here if I would have continued thinking that I have right education with me, I have certain skills with me, and there are talents with which I can work a lot. I would have stuck there itself rather than where I am today. So growth mindset is, like I said, the perseverance, taking up challenges and creating that goal for yourself and constructive feedback that you have gotten throughout the journey. If you have heard about the story of tortoise and the hare, I have been the tortoise there rather than being the hare. So that's the comparison that I can draw within, between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset.
So, very interesting perspective we get there, and something connected that I get from there. And I would again throw it back to you, Mr. Khurana, because I would not want to break that flow of yours. I really liked what you said with regards to failure,
Yeah.
because it is often seen as a hindrance rather than something that should rather be pushing you forward. So how do you justify growth mindset and failure while being on the opposite sides of the spectrum, being in the same basket?
Mhm, mhm. Okay. So, with my experience, what I can that I can share with you, the cognitive flexibility that we talk about. The flexibility to accept the failures and then take the life from there is what I have learned. So, giving you a good example from my own life, at sixth grade, my sister caught my result of maths where I got 13 marks out of 50. And she showed that to my parent. So, I had taken aback that I got 13 marks out of 50 in mathematics.
Hmm.
So, in this slow process, I understood over a period of time that, okay, that is the weakness that I have. And I need to do something regarding that. So
Hmm.
I got, a mentor
Hmm.
who helped me. I was giving my CAT exams and GMAT exams at that point in time, and the mathematics was a big challenge for me that time itself. Only because I completed my graduation into IT and management, and maths was also not there. And in 11th, 12th also, I did not take up maths as a subject, only because I was, that there was a fear of failure. That okay, if I will take that subject, I'm going to fail. Then after completion of my graduation, when I was working, so I worked for 1 year. Then I realized that maths plays a very important role. So I got one of the mentor who made me study, who made me love with mathematics. And as the result of it, in GMAT exams, I could score 690. And in my batch, I was one of the best ones to crack the GMAT and got into IIM Lucknow. So failure for me is taking back seat and then thinking that okay, everything has been done by someone else, I do not have any role to play in that. I changed that mindset and I worked really very hard during that 2 years to get the score that I got. So that is one of the example that I can share with you of the failure. And people should know how to come out of the failure and create that growth mindset, which will help them not only succeed, but to have that cognitive flexibility within their mind. Uh, to embrace the challenges and embrace the change in their life.
So, I mean, that is a beautiful perspective and a story that I've just been told. And what, in fact, was maths to you was chemistry to me. But thankfully, carbon atoms are not that important in life. And I mean, I had a similar story. Well, having said that, Dr. Mittal, Niti Ayog, the hub of growth, the Make in India campaign, the growth mindset, in fact, maybe originates from some, like, when it is the Niti Ayog, which put it in an institution, wherein it is capitalizing on that factor of growth mindset. It is instilling in the form of a political campaign. So, coming from there, I would be very much open to understanding your perspective, that what is growth mindset specifically when Niti Ayog goes ahead and issues about 700 notifications across 47 industries, instilling growth, instilling the boost that it needs.
Thank you, Shantanu, and thank you, Skills Reform, for this platform so that we can share our perspectives on a very most required skill, that is the growth mindset. So to understand a growth mindset, Shantanu, we must first understand what a fixed mindset is. And in a fixed mindset, people usually believe their basic qualities like intelligence or talent with that are simply fixed traits and talent alone. Without efforts, create success. And in a fixed mindset, if you try something you have never done before, say skating, you will likely give up after falling a few times. Whereas if I talk about a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work, which is the most important point for the growth mindset. A growth mindset thrives on challenge and sees failure not as an evidence of unintelligence, but as an opportunity for growth and expansion of existing abilities. Students with a growth mindset believe that they can learn to complete tasks, solve complex problems, or grow their intelligence, rather than assuming that they can or cannot do something based on their current abilities. And the students with fixed mindset takes failure as a humiliation. This is the most important point to understand, that students who have actually fixed mindset, or we can understand it as a vice versa, that students who takes failure as a humiliation is actually having a fixed mindset, and they probably avoid those tasks in which they have been failing, such as skating, for the rest of their life. He or she will probably make an excuse like skating is just not my thing. For more examples, if I give you, like dancing is not my thing, and my friend who dances well is a natural born dancer. So these are just silly excuses, or I may call it as an unknown excuses, which indicates towards the fixed mindset. So this is very important to understand, that how do we take things in our life, whether we are ready to take challenges, tendency to take challenges, how do we perceive things, how do I tackle failures in my life, do we really learn from failures and the criticism, do we really find lessons in the success of others. So that is more important to understand what is fixed mindset, what is growth mindset, because there's always a fine line between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. But sometimes what happens, we quickly jump from growth mindset to fixed mindset, or fixed mindset to growth mindset. So that is completely up to us. How do we take things, how do we take our failures in our life, how do we learn from others, how do we get inspired when somebody is actually succeeding. So, how do we take those challenges when something in front of us is actually in that capacity which we are assuming ourselves not being capable for doing that particular task. So it is about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, according to me. So this is about the understanding what I understand for the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. If I talk about Niti Aayog or Atal Innovation Mission, absolutely brilliant job. The Atal Innovation Mission is actually a heading with a complete and a nice and a right vision, that we mentors have to be enablers. We mentors have not exactly to be the facilitators, we have to be enablers, so that the things are actually looking like that I can do it. So the kind of tendency in the students or the in the youth, that I cannot do it, this is not this is not my cup of tea. So such kinds of thoughts have to be removed, vanished completely from the minds. So this is totally I understand about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. Over to you, Shantanu.
All right, so that thank you for that beautiful perspective, and just picking up from there, and you being a highly experienced mentor yourself, sir, I would want to understand from you that what is that one skill or effort that is required to make that particular shift from of a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. How do you instill that in someone else as a mentor?
Very great question, Shantanu. In reality, I just mentioned here that there is always a very fine line between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset, but you cannot transit from a growth mindset to a fixed mindset in the blink of an eye, right?
Absolutely.
For instance, when you are confronted with a specific project, a specific challenge, or an interaction with a specific person that you are not quite comfortable with, the fixed mindset that takes over in these sorts of situations could ultimately hold you back from learning and developing in important areas, thus potentially holding you back in the long term too. So I believe that growth mindset leads to success, whereas fixed mindset leads to the frustration. These are the important words, that growth mindset leads to success, whereas fixed mindset leads to the frustration, because if we have the fixed mindset, we do not want anybody else to be succeeded, right? Every time we want ourselves only to succeed, we get jealous, we get frustrated when somebody else get that particular opportunity. So a few things to be kept in mind that will definitely help the child youth to develop the growth mindset. And if you ask me about a particular skill that will actually being developed from the growth mindset, if I always say that if you are having those qualities of the growth mindset, I am pretty sure that if you have the growth mindset, all the skills will definitely be developed. But few things have to be always kept in mind. Only not only kept in mind, that has to be developed, and that has to be inculcated in you. Like, I can learn anything I want to. The kind of understanding which we should always have. I like to challenge myself. When I fail, I learn. Sometimes what happens that I have been hearing students by saying कि सर आपने कहा था फेल हो जाओगे तो you will always learn. It does not mean you will fail if you have really worked hard, if you have really put your best into that particular task. After that, even if you get fail, you will definitely learn. What will you learn? The first point, that what mistake I have done, so that I have not got that particular success after my best efforts that I have been putting into that particular task. So failure does not mean कि मुझे कुछ नहीं करना और fail हो गया तो I will definitely learn, because my mentor always says that you will fail, you will learn. No, first we have to put our best into the thing. Put our best, work hard means you have the growth mindset. If you don't do anything, if you don't want to put your best into the things, it means you don't have the growth mindset. That is very much clear. So failure does not mean that कुछ नहीं करना और सब कुछ मिल जाएगा. Like,
Right.
I am inspired when my classmates succeed. This is also the important point. Usually
Right.
we do not see it in the classrooms. अगर मेरा दोस्त succeed करता है, usually I get jealous, I get sometimes frustrated. मुझे क्यों नहीं मिला? It should not be like this. We have to be inspired कि उसने क्या अलग किया है. That has to be done by me also, because everybody has the talent, everybody must have the individual difference, but we always have an immense talent that we can always use for developing that particular of persona, that particular growth mindset in us. Like, if my efforts and attitude are always there, it will determine everything for me. Well, like, if I give you an example, just adding the word yet, because we always know that there is always a power of yet. If our students or our youth actually understand the power of yet, I think everything will be really changed. Like, just adding the word yet to a discouraging sentence. What is the discouraging sentence? I just give you an example. Like, I can't, changes its meaning. If you add the word yet in the sentence I can't, it will definitely change the meaning and opens the doors for growth and opportunity. Similar thoughts like I can't do complex multiplication and I can't catch the cricket ball, that take on very different meanings with the addition of that one particular word. So this means that children can and will master those skills. It is just a matter of time and effort, nothing else. Shantanu, over to you. This is from my side.
So, a very interesting perspective that is coming is that learning from your mistake, and I think it would not be incorrect to state that learning from your mistakes is one of the facets of someone who has that growth mindset. And with that, it brings me to it brings me to Mr. Khurana, in fact, that sir, you have been through multiple industries, through media, consulting, edtech, and I'm sure that every point you would have faced challenges and challenges emanating from different industries. So how do you think that these facets of growth mindset help you? Like, one of them being learning from your mistakes. What are the other facets that do you think you applied over the course of your journey of 14 years through these industries, sir?
Okay. So, learning from mistakes. One thing that I have not done is I have made not the same mistakes. I have always made different mistakes in life. I started after 10th. I had taken up science, biology. I wanted to be a doctor. I got through dental exams, but my father said no. If it is MBBS, then it is okay. Otherwise, no dental services. Then I chose to be in management and IT. Uh, as a personality, over a period of 14 years, if you will see my career, I have joined travel to start with. Then after I switched to media, then I switched to consulting, and then strategy, and then edtech. Learning, every time I have made some mistake or the other. But one thing that I have always learned and kept in my mind, that the mistakes that I am learning at this point in time, it should be a learning for me, rather than be there and I forget it and move on in life. I have to keep that in mind while taking any plunge that I have taken in the last 14 years. uh, why I have chosen different fields altogether was that I was not satisfied being into the similar field. That's probably my personality. I have always wanted to taken up all the challenges, new fields, new challenges, meeting new people, learning from them, creating a milestone, creating a path for myself, so that other people can also learn from me, from my experience, and creating a complete niche segment for myself. And certainly I have flunked, I have failed. Sometime I have failed miserably, wherein people have told me that okay, you can't do this, you better leave. But wherever I have been in the organization for 5 years, it is just to prove them and to prove myself that I can do it. So I have been into two companies for 5 years each, where people have challenged me, and I have learned from those mistakes and learned from those failures, and created a huge milestone, a huge threshold for themselves, a benchmark for themselves, rather, that now I have created this, you try to break that benchmark for themselves. So it's all about learning from those failures and mistakes that you have done, but never do the same mistake again. Only because if you are doing the same mistake again, you are the most stupidest person in the world.
Absolutely right, sir. In fact, Mr. Khurana and Dr. Mittal, your journey is a textbook example of neuroplasticity, which is nothing but the ability of the brain to change continuously throughout your life, and it basically talks about cognitive flexibility. So here is something that I would throw at both of you: that what are the few tips that you believe? I would not want to quantify them, maybe because if in case you have 5, I don't want to call for just 3. So, what do you think are a few tips that you would give to the youth, ranging from the age of 15 and up till 35? Because for the purpose of feedback and constructive learning. So how does one take it well, and how does one implement it? The two stages. So, Dr. Mittal, you can start with the first inputs.
Yes, Shantanu. Actually, since my childhood, I just want to tell you, since my childhood, I just wanted to become a teacher. As in my family and in my relatives also, there are so many people who are in education sector only. And as well as moreover, teaching has always been my passion, right? I opted this profession by choice, not by chance, which is very important to understand. We need to see how focused we are for our career and life, how focused we are here to do something different in our life. That really matters. I never thought of doing beyond becoming just a teacher, and never in my schooling years, rather in college years, I never thought of coming to this leadership role what I am now today. And but fortunately, the mindset with which I carried on really helped me to shape my life into a better role. So I never stopped myself to do something better, whether it is beyond my capabilities or my abilities. Maybe I always try to attempt it and never worried for the failures. ज्यादा से ज्यादा फेल ही होंगे ना, बट कुछ नया तो सीखेंगे. So this was always my mindset and my thought process behind my journey. I see life as an endless opportunity to figure out new things and appreciate that failure is a part and a parcel of learning and progressing. that attitude of I can actually help me a lot to become what I am today. So I have always been advocating for the power of yet, because according to me, that there is no end point for the perfection. We always have to work hard in our entire life to achieve the perfection. Like I always tell my kids, my students, that infinity has no end point. So obviously, they usually ask that where is the end point for the infinity? What is the level of the perfection? We we are trying to be the perfect. But if we are trying to be the perfect, definitely we will become better and better day by day. So this is the complete thought process behind the journey of my work life as well. And I just mentioned from my since childhood also how I came in this profession as well. So this was completely my thought process behind that. So I think Mr. Kurana can also share his experience. He has already shared his vast experience from since his childhood. That was really encouraging and inspiring, I think, for everybody out.
So, in fact, sir, Dr. Mittal, what I take from your inputs is first and foremost purpose. The second that I see is risk taking, and with that, I would want to move to Mr. Khurana. What would be your inputs? What are basically the tips or the facets that constitute growth mindset?
So you talk about neuroplasticity there, which is like cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility, brain go through a lot of changes over a period of time. When we say that a child can learn different languages till the age of 7, it is not the hard stop there. People can learn throughout their life. A old dog learns new tricks all the time. In cognitive flexibility, people need to understand that they need to reduce stress, because if they will reduce stress. So for example, I'll give you an example. So in last 9 months, when we have been into the pandemic situation, you have seen over social media that a lot of people have come with new things that they have tried in terms of cooking, in terms of being present on social media, showing their talent, their skills. So it is all about changing their pattern. uh, you know the flexibility which has been given to them, only because the stress was less that time. I'm sure that a lot of people are out of their job, but still they have tried doing something new with their life. That is all about the growth mindset. Had they been a fixed mindset, they would have not showed us their talent over the social media. So people need to understand that first of all, they need to reduce the stress in their life, the level of anxiety, be it from their family, or from their professional life, or from their personal life, in terms of their friend circle and everything. They need to reduce the anxiety. Second thing is, in management we have a concept of control mechanism. In terms of you laid down the objective for yourself, then you execute it to the best of your knowledge, with the strategy, with your experience, through your learning, and then have the control mechanism in terms of where I have gone wrong. Okay, so there you learn a lot about the failure or the mistakes that you have done. The constant feedback mechanism. We tend to fail ourselves during. If I am a team leader in any of the organization, if I will not have the robust control mechanism in terms of knowing about what my team has done, which direction they have taken, and not correcting them at the right time, will obviously open the floodgates for themselves and for myself also, in terms of failing and failing miserably. So that control mechanism has to be there. And the third thing is that you need to adopt a skill or the talent which you always wanted. You have fear of failing, like Dr. Mittal said, skating or maybe dancing. He should adapt and adopt that dancing skill for sure, only because that will give him the perseverance and that passion. I have failed into that. Once I will succeed, I will have my own growth mindset in terms of succeeding it so well in life that I can create example for others to follow.
So that's actually a very beautiful summary from Mr. Khurana and Dr. Mittal, both of you, with regards to what constitutes growth mindset. Now, I would like to look at the other side of the coin, and I can't help because I'm a lawyer. And what are the hindrances to growth mindset per se? So my target question being that what are certain preconceived hindrances that may or may not exist, but people believe that that is there, and therefore they go ahead and consider it a hindrance. What do you think stops people in very simple terms?
Can I speak, Shantanu?
So please.
Actually, what you are actually trying to know about the hindrances for the growth mindset. So I think I must include the youth of today. And we should know whether they are really positive about the failures, and they really take this courage to learn and become better and better day by day, right? So as we all have already been mentioning in today's talk, that learning from mistakes and errors are as an important part of our development, and most adults understand this concept. Yet we have failed to teach them that there is a positive side to getting things wrong. Many children grow up in such a society that pressures them to be perfect, to get the highest scores in all the exams, whether the school exams or the college exams or any competitive exams, as well as to land prized scholarships, to get into the best universities. So actually, parents correct or complete children's homework to improve their grades. These are so many hindrances which actually start from our childhood only and go till our entire life. They argue usually they argue with teachers. Who argue? Parents argue with teachers who try to point out a child's areas of weakness that need improvement. So if we look into the aspect whether our youth is positive about the failures, then we have to look at our society, including parents, relatives, and all, how the upbringing of the children is happening. Are we really preparing our kids to face challenges firmly, or developing such tendencies into them? No, I don't think so. Rather, sometimes we should encourage them when they make any mistake and guide them how they could do it better. Youth need encouragement to learn and succeed. Our current and upcoming generations are extremely talented and full of creativity. Just to give them the right path is the main factor that affects their life ahead. I honestly feel, Shantanu, that there is a lot to do by us as mentors to guide the school children and the college youth. As there is a saying by Mary Pickford, if you have made mistakes, even serious ones, there is always another chance for you. What we call failure is not the falling down, but the staying down. So that has to be understood by each one of us, that that the complete mindset has to be in that direction where we are actually having those factors or those pointers of growth mindset. So we have to keep aside our ego. The important point I'm telling you, we have to keep aside our ego when we are learning. We have to be apologetic whenever we hurt others.
Right.
Usually we don't do it, and should show that apologies without hesitation. We should never expect them to be very perfect, because today youth is going with a full pace and without knowing whether the path is correct or not correct, whether he has hurt somebody in his speed. So all those things have to be understood by each one of us. Youth does not mean only youth. We are always saying and pressurizing the kids, the pressurizing the youth, the college goers, that do it. For what? For the society as well, for the neighborhood as well. कि मेरे रिश्तेदार क्या कहेंगे अगर कुछ नहीं किया तो. So these all are the very important factors which actually start from our family only, which start from our school level only. So that that has to be removed completely from the surface as well. This is my take about what you were trying to understand. I do not know whether it does suffice or not. So I just tried hard.
It actually summarizes beautifully. So as to what are the first things that come to my mind if I would think that what are the hindrance to growth mindset? At the very outset you pointed out that discouraging someone is opposed to your growth mindset and someone else's growth mindset. So we very beautifully puts up. Before I take this to Mr. Khurana, I would just like to put it out to the audience that we will now be opening the floor to questions. And I can see already that we have a couple. And if your question is directed towards a particular panelist, in that case, you can just put the name of the panelist and I'll address the question. So, Mr. Khurana, quickly, I would want to have your perspective with regards to what are the general hindrances when it comes to the growth mindset. What stops somebody?
See, if you will understand what the growth mindset is, people get confused with the positive mindset or the open-mindedness.
Right.
People think that from the movie this Three Idiots, all is well. All is well is not about the growth mindset. It is about positive mindset. Versus a movie which is Pursuit of Happiness. That is positive mindset as well as growth mindset. So the hindrance in a growth mindset, I think people need to understand. So I have gone through my college. I am a parent of two, smart kids. Um, I have been a working professional myself, working in the best of the corporates. So if you will, so people need to understand at different, juncture wherever they are at this point in time. The audience, especially those who are looking at us, they need to understand what the growth mindset is all about. So the hindrance for first of all is the do's and don'ts of that. I may be explaining that over a period of, once the questions will come in terms of what are the do's and don'ts in that. But knowing about the subject is the most important thing that you need to keep that in mind while, discussing about this.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. The first question that I've actually gotten with me is from Praveen Goyal, and the question is that how one should handle the negative feedback from someone. And I would want Mr. Khurana, you can weigh in on the same, and then we can move to Dr. Mittal on the same.
See, no, so the feedback can never be negative. It is about the mindset that you have. So for example, if I am giving someone a feedback, it entirely depends upon us how we have created that awareness in them in terms of whether it is the constructive feedback that we are giving or the destructive feedback. The choosing the right words will make it a negative feedback or a positive feedback. So no feedback for me is a negative feedback. It is all about how I am taking it and how the other person is giving it to me. For example, if I will ask my children today, you can't do it. So that will become a hindrance or the negative feedback for them. Well, if I will tell them that, oh, you can do it, but you need to put in a lot of hard work in doing that. That is the positive feedback that I am giving it to them. If they have failed in something and I will be blunt on their face, oh, you can't do anything. That's how you have failed. Vis-a-vis, if I'll tell them that this is the way to do it, and I will lead by an example and tell them, or maybe giving them the experiential learning, and then giving them the feedback would be more positive reinforcement as well as the feedback to them rather than a negative one.
Yeah. So basically, what I take from that answer is that feedback is like the concept of heat in physics. There's no hot or cold. There's either heat or there's no heat. So there's feedback. It depends how the feedback is given, and therefore it also depends on how the feedback is perceived. So the
we say that Shantanu, like we say that intelligence is not set; it is fluid.
Yes.
Likewise, the feedback is also not set; it is fluid. So it entirely depends upon you need to create awareness of and choose the right words while giving it to them.
Absolutely right, sir. And the necessary corollary that builds up here is that the growth mindset cannot be on one side of the coin. The growth mindset, with regards to the specific facet, which is feedback, has to be on both the ends, to the receiver and the giver. If you see the very example that you give, that when you tell your child that you can't do it, then the receiver himself or herself does not have the growth mindset. And with that, I would take the same question to Dr. Mittal, that so how do you think that one can perceive criticism better? How can one work towards it and then further come out of it?
Shantanu, I totally agree what Mr. Khurana has just mentioned here, that the feedback is never negative. Because if you really want to, if you not really want to, only want to just hear your praise from the audience, from the people, from your friends, from your colleagues. So I think this is not a feedback. If you really want to hear your praise only, at times there is always a criticism. Maybe there is always a kind of the suggestions. There is there might be a kind of a compliment as well. So there are different kind of things, but the feedback is always should always be taken as a tool for the improvement.
Right.
Because feedback is given only by the people who actually know that this can be better than this particular thing, right? So feedback should always be perceived like I have to improve on that particular field, because I have already mentioned there nobody is perfect, but we all are trying perfect. We all are trying to learn from our failures, and failure is only considered when we have put our best efforts into the particular task or the thing. So only after that we are, if we are ready to learn, if we have an attitude of I can, if we know the power of the word yet. So I think all these factors always work for the mindset. So this is completely depending on the mindset, how we are taking that particular feedback. Because I always take the positive notes from the feedback. I always take those feedbacks as a tool, as a key factor where I can improve. Because जब तक feedback नहीं मिलेगा, you can never improve. अपने like you will always be in a shell where nobody's giving you any suggestions, nobody's giving you any criticism, nobody's praising you. So you will always be in a shell where nobody is there to help you out, to suggest and to make you better and better and better in your life. So I think feedback should always be taken as a note to improve upon our skills or the mindset.
Right, sir. Now, I mean, I really appreciate the response, sir. I would just want to escape from the utopian setup that now that we have defined feedback. But in the practical world, usually what happens, and I'm sure that both the panelists would agree, that sometimes the feedback is not that well worded as we would like it to be. It is not, the feedback is not encouraging in general. I mean, in certain times, if specifically in my area, if you get into a law firm, you just you do some mistake on one case and you might be subject to yelling from one of the seniors. So how does one tackle that? How does one
sorry for interruption. Yes, a words ka khel hai. I will just give you 2 sentences. I have already mentioned, however. First is, you have not done this task. You have not done this task. And second one is, you are yet to do it. Right? You have not done this task might be taken sometimes as a negative sentence, but you are yet to do it might be taken by somebody as a positive, that he is actually requesting me to do it. So this is about actually completely a game of words. So I think everybody is not a master of the literature. Everybody is not a master of the language. So I think we all should always understand that whatever the feedback is being given to us is just for my own improvement, and we should not take word to word things like I've just mentioned here. Might be the feedback is not very rightly or good mentioned in a good words or the very fancy words. So I think this is all about a game of the words, and we can never expect everybody to be the master of the literature and the language. So that has to be understood by each one of us.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for your input. So if I take the same question to Mr. Khurana, that how does one take negative feedback? How does one work on that? Because that element is not in someone's control always. And taking on the practical side of the life.
Okay, so let's take the example of how schools are doing at this point in time. Giving so for them, the feedback is like giving a report card to a student. That is the feedback for them. Now there is a a suggestion box, or maybe the remarks column in that. So that will make or break a student's mindset in terms of whether that feedback is negative or positive for me. So choosing the right words while putting that in the remarks can play an important role while delivering it to a child. Uh, and taking another example, so you are also a working professional, so is Dr. Mittal. There is a appraisal format or a 360-degree appraisal session which happens with each one of us when we are working with the organization. There is a way to put in the right words. So why we have kept the 360-degree feedback session is only about telling the people where they could improve and where they are lagging. Okay, so we do a lot of skill assessment wherein people are doing five, they are great 9 out of 10 in 5 of this, and maybe 6 or 7 in bottom 5 of it. You need to understand the importance of the words that you are choosing while communicating it to someone. So if we will have people will start thinking about that, okay, every feedback is negative, overall all the HR and L&D as a talent management fraternity will go for a toss if they will not be able to communicate well to the employee or the student for that matter.
Right. Really appreciate the response, sir. And however, sir, that brings me to my next point, that when should one know that it is okay to concede? Because sometimes we can get stuck in a loop and we keep trying the same thing. We're putting in our best efforts, as Dr. Mittal would say, but still we are stuck in a loop and progress is not happening. It is not materializing. So when do you really concede, and when does conceding become a part of growth mindset? So if you could share your perspective, Dr. Mittal, I'll move ahead with you.
It usually happens with most of us, right? Sometimes what happens that we are not actually finding the way to move ahead, and we are actually stuck in any of the loop. What should be the answer? The answer is we should always seek the guidance of our mentors. We should always seek the guidance of the experts in that particular thing. We should never hesitate to ask others. What happens sometimes that we are sometimes very hesitant to ask others to take anybody's guidance, to take anybody's assistance. कि क्या सोचेगा मेरे बारे में? I think that particular thing should always be removed from our mind. That taking guidance, taking the positive side, positive aspect of the expert, I think there is no harm of asking them. So I think the main role of the mentors, because we all have the mentors, the main role of the mentors is like this only, that the mentors always show the path, and this is completely depending on us, that how are we taking those things from our mentors. So I think in that particular situation, when we are really stuck on a particular point in time, that we are not moving ahead, or the things are not allowing us to move ahead, we should always ask our mentors, we should always ask our elders, we should always ask the experts to seek the guidance, to ask them that how should I move ahead. So I think the mentor's role actually play a very important role in that particular thing when we are stuck on that particular place or a problem.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so much for your inputs. Mr. Khurana, I will take that question to you. That uh, when do we know that, okay, this is the time to concede, this is the time to pivot, and maybe then to grow in some other area? Because sometimes we are stuck in a loop. And what is your perspective on that?
See, the introspection plays very important role there. So, like Dr. Mittal said, either you have the reinforcement from outside, maybe in form of your guide, mentorship, your family, friends, or you have that skill and ability to introspect. Introspection plays very important role from a ninth grader and above, because they can understand about it where what is good for me and how I can get out of this chakru, to put it in that.
Hmm.
So knowing about yourself and your skill set and knowing about the destination that you have chosen, people will get to know about it, whether it's a right destination for them or not. It is not about failing and not doing it once again. It is all about that I have failed multiple times. Now there is something else that I need to work upon. Maybe there are things which is controlling me, or there are other skill set which where I am good at. Okay, so that will help you completely considering on of that particular situation.
Right, right, right. So, sir, I mean, one specific thing that you mentioned is introspection, and I'm sure that someone who has spent these number of years in various industries would have sometime been very self-critical while being within the ambit of introspecting. And how did you personally deal with that, or how would you suggest that it should rather be dealt with?
So everybody know about their strength and weakness. So if you are self-critical, you can be self-motivated, to put it that way.
Hmm.
So introspection plays very important role in terms of, if I am self-critical, let people talk about it, but I know about my weaknesses. People are telling me 10,000 things, but once I have introspected, I know about these are the limitations that I have, and I'm ready to work on it, and I would like to succeed on that. So people, um, either they go through the fire themselves or learn through some other's experience. So that plays an important role while in that particular thing.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Sir, I would bring the same question to Dr. Mittal. That, sir, I'm sure even you have personally been in a situation where you had to introspect, you had to make certain corrections. And how did you go through that phase? And how?
I always, Shantanu, whatever I have just spoken has already been experienced by me personally. I always take guidance. First, obviously what Mr. Khurana has mentioned, that introspection is really required, and I would connect this introspection with the learning from our failures, because sometimes when we are stuck, it means we are failing to go ahead, to succeed ahead, right? So we have to learn from that particular thing, means what mistake we are doing, that will be caught once we introspect what mistake we have done, or what thing is being done incorrectly जो मुझे आगे जाने से रोक रहा है, right? So introspection is really required, but I really do it after introspection, after seeing that what can be done, what is actually hindering me to move ahead. I always take the guidance, the help, the assistance of my mentors, of my colleagues. I never hesitate to ask others. I never hesitate to take the help of my friends, because I cannot be the expert, I cannot be the master of everything, right? So I think that taking help of our guide or the mentors always help you, always help you. Rather, it gives you a path, it gives you a way to collaborate each other as well. It develops your social networking as well. Because मैंने भी बोला अपने वो, I don't exactly remember the dialogue of Hindi, कूप मंडूक के मेंढक, it is something like that, कि वो हम उसमें ही रह जाएंगे. Otherwise, I mean to say that if you are hesitating to ask others, if you are hesitating to take the guidance of others, if you are actually not wanting others to be given importance, sometimes what we think कि पूछ लिया तो वो ज्यादा important अपने आप को समझेगा, that I know better more than him or better than him. So I think this kind of mindset should always be vanished from our mind. We should always collaborate each other, because collaboration always helps in such hindrances or the things where we are stuck at.
Right, sir. So two very interesting thing that strike me right now is, one is element of luck, and that element of luck is never in your control. And sometimes what personally I have seen is that it has sometimes broken a few very strong spirited people, just because they believed that they were just continuously being unlucky. And this, I believe, if it really goes to that extent, can be a big hindrance. But how much should we actually bank on it, and how much do you think it really affects your growth, basically? So, I mean, from your personal life, when you felt that you were unlucky, and then what element of your growth mindset led you to it? So, Mr. Khurana, I would want to start that with you.
Personally, luck plays a very important role. Truly, I completely go by that statement. What percentage of it? I may not be the right person doing that. I have always been a hardworking guy. In whatever that I have put, I have created my own destiny. But luck plays an important role in terms of defining your destiny. Maybe 10%, 20%, sometime 90%. That figures depends upon the events that has happened. But I think that's the real difference between the examples that you have taken. That's the real difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. So a person who has a growth mindset, we will always work hard to get there. And people, those who think that they have been unlucky, they still have the fixed mindset, and they need to open their mindset, only because the way you think has the huge impact on the propensity of what you will be learning in future.
Right, sir. And thank you so much for that amazing perspective. Dr. Mittal, I would bring that to you. Element of luck, and how much do you think? And how much?
Shantanu, I think
my basic what I'm trying to understand here is that sometimes we blame it on the luck, and that is where the mindset is brought down, instead of blaming the lack of effort, maybe. And that is the
Mr. Khurana has already mentioned that luck actually plays a very important role in our life. I totally agree, but I think I would not be able to give you the right input on luck, because I am always in dilemma when I talk about luck or not unlucky. But I just want to highlight a very good line here said by John Maxwell. I think it will answer you. Maybe strategically, I'm just giving this answer because I'm not very sure about the luck or unluck. Dreams don't work unless you do. So we have always to put our best efforts into the things. I think yes, luck matters, luck works, but yes, hard work also works. So dreams don't work unless you do. Over to you, Shantanu.
Your luck works only if you are a hardworking guy.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. So that, to take it further and bringing in perspective from Dr. Mittal's previous answer, not this one, the previous answer, the fear of asking questions and how does it hindrance our growth. and why is it important? I would want to put that to Mr. Khurana.
So I will ask that question to you, Shantanu, only because you are a lawyer. And if you'll not ask questions to your client, will you get to the right, understanding about the case?
No,
So you
definitely.
answer that.
Yes. I absolutely get your perspective that it is important, but the problem that I'm trying to highlight here, sir, is that people are afraid to ask questions. On the contrary, I get paid to ask questions. So the difference being that how to move past that, how to have that thick layer of skin wherein you know that if I have to learn, then even I have to look stupid, I have to ask. So that's a vicious triangle maybe, but how do you think that really develops?
So I think we train people to ask good questions or ask right questions. For me, questions are never wrong. Answers are. We need to develop that habit in and inculcate that habit from very childhood in terms of asking the questions, and that entirely depends upon the person who is giving the answers. So it's all about building the curiosity. If you are not curious enough, you will never ask questions. So building that curiosity and awareness in a child, or maybe in our youth at this point in time, will always develop that or inculcate that skill of asking questions. Till the time you are not asking questions, you'll never get the answer or the perspective, maybe a smaller perspective or a large perspective of things. I think it is very important for people to inculcate that habit of asking questions rather than in classroom or maybe to your bosses. If they will not ask questions, they will never understand the jargons, the level of understanding of that particular industry, if they will not do it.
Right, sir. So if I just drift that to Dr. Mittal, and I seek the other side of the coin, which is with regards to the fact that we are talking about the person who's asking the question, and just now Mr. Khurana told us that how we can eliminate that fear, and that the curiosity has to be ingrained through mentors, through parenting. Now, what about the parent, and what about the mentor, and what about that teacher who is bombarded with those questions, and how are they to be dealt with in order to preserve the growth mindset on both the ends of the spectrum? So yes, sir, please.
Shantanu, apart from being the mentor at Niti Aayog, I am a teacher as well. And
Sir.
fortunately, I am a teacher of the mathematics also.
Exactly.
So I think that I think asking the questions in mathematics, sometimes it looks like a punishment for the students, because students in mathematics class usually feel if I will ask this question, my friends will definitely laugh at me, laugh in different senses. Might be they will laugh at me by saying, "अच्छा आज तो बहुत question पूछ रहा है." They will laugh at me by saying, "क्या question पूछ लिया?" So there are different factors I am telling you in the classrooms. They will laugh at me by saying, "इतना भी नहीं आता." So there are different factors in the classroom that has to be understood by the teachers. Basically, because we the teachers are playing the very not the important role. I think the most important role in the life of any child is actually being played by the teacher. So that role actually has to be played by us as a teacher in the classroom itself. If we inculcate those qualities in the child, that asking question has always a sense. No question is nonsense. No question is nonsense. Sometimes a few teachers says, "Kya nonsense question hai?" Every question has a sense. So that has to be understood by each one of us, that Every question has a sense, but the difference is how do we take things, how do we understand the question, how do we answer the question. Sometimes what happens, if the child is asking the same question again and again, and if we are not like um, uh, uh, short tempered, or we don't have that patience to hear the questions, I think that happens in the classrooms, that we do not want to answer such questions asked by the students. So that actually starts from the classroom itself. How do we make the child very curious to ask the question? So Mr. Khurana has very rightly mentioned that making the child very curious in the classroom itself is the most important point. If the child is curious, he will definitely ask the question. And now this is your role as a teacher, that if the question is not being taken by the teacher nicely, appropriately, rightly, the child will stop asking the question. So this is completely on up to us. Now I talk as a parent. Sometimes what happens, that we are usually busy in our lives, right? And we don't have time to give our children. Sometimes what happens, the child is asking very different questions again and again. छोटे छोटे बच्चों में it usually happens in the house. तो कि एक छोटा सा question, यार ये क्या question पूछते हैं बच्चे छोटे छोटे, that has to be taken very patiently by us, because the child's mind is completely empty in the childhood. That has to be filled by us. So that has to be completely shapen by us. So we have to take the question and we have to answer them very patiently. We have to be very calm at times. We have to be patient all the times with the children, whether the school children, whether the college children, college youth, I must say. So I think that all depends on us. How are we taking the questions in the classrooms? How are we making our children very curious? How are we actually? How much we are patient? Are we short tempered? No, I think the teacher should never be short tempered. That is why I always say, जिसने primary class पढ़ा ली, I think the most patience the teacher has, who are teaching in the primary classes, because the kind of questions, the number of questions asked by the students in the primary classes, I think the most questions are being asked by them. So this is my take on that particular thing, what Shantanu you asked. So I think Mr. Khurana has rightly pointed out the curiosity, which is the most important aspect in that.
So that was beautifully put. And now with that, I would want to move to a different channel of this entire discussion, which is with regards to that the current times have changed. People need to pivot. People need to learn. People need to learn fast, and people need to basically grow their skill, which is what this organization is doing, and which is what our collective aim is. Now, when we look at the present scenario, what is the first thing when everything looks so gloomy? What do you think is the first few things that one should take care of while we keep the growth mindset in perspective? And I'm not putting it in only in the sense of your academic qualification, but I'm also talking about your emotional quotient. I'm also talking about your mental stability. So I'm looking at a holistic approach here. So, Mr. Khurana, could you please like further shed light on it?
We have all gone through the situation, and we all traveled in the same boat. Most of us. The learning that I personally have taken from this particular 9 month journey, which I have never expected and never thought of, is to open up your space, open up your mind, uh, be little be little flexible in terms of the resilience or the adversity. So you need to develop those questions among each one of us, in terms of that we need to understand that situation can be anything, in coming future. How agile are you? How you are taking up the adversity? How you are taking up through the perseverance, uh, keeping your emotional intelligence and emotional quotient intact in place. and enjoy the journey would be the perspective that I can throw out to people, that this is what my learning is out of this, the situation that we have, unfortunate situation that we have all gone through. I think life is beautiful. They just need to enjoy the journey that we all are in.
Excellently put, sir. Dr. Mittal, what would be your inputs on the same? When we think about the COVID-19 situation, and as sir puts out, we need to pivot. People need to be flexible. People need to be adaptive. And what are the elements of growth mindset do you think that people should be really adhering to at this point of time? And again, I would put it that I do not just mean it academically. I do not just mean it in just one perspective. I mean it in a holistic approach, so that you grow as a person. So, what would be your perspective, sir?
Shantanu, a few points I would like to just mention here, that consistently choose challenging tasks rather than safe ones, right? And if you think that the things are going to change overnight, or if you are going to master a new skill overnight, I think that should not be the concept in anybody's mind, that I'm just going to change something overnight, or I'm going to master a new skill overnight. So that has to be understood by us. That has to be understood by youth. That has to be understood by the parent as well. That as well as make a conscious effort to dedicate time and effort. Don't give up ever. Just try and try and try. I think one day you will definitely get your goal. So I think these are the key points in COVID times as well. And we should always become more self-aware. We always think कि ये तो हो सकता है मुझे पता ना हो, and we are always dependent on others कि कोई बताएगा तो मुझे पता चल जाएगा. We should always try hard. That we have to be self-aware. We have to be more conscious about the things. We have to be more patient about the things. We have to be firm at times, but we have to understand that our brain works like a muscle. What Mr. Khurana has already talked about, the neuroplasticity, because it can be trained. What can be trained? Our muscles, our brain can be trained. So this is completely a game of our mind, of our brain. So I think that has to be understood by all of us, that how our brain is working, how we are training our mind. So I think if you think someone is better than you, and if you are looking at as a threat, so I think there is no point of going ahead, and there is no chance of getting the growth mindset ever in your life. So this is my take about on that particular question what you asked, Mr. Shantanu.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your perspective. And I think with that, I would be moving to having your closing remarks from the both of you. And before we do that, I believe that our viewers must be wondering that where Miss Sunita Bajande is. And unfortunately, she could not join us today due to some technical glitch. So we'll definitely, I mean, it would be lovely to have her in one of the next webinars. So keep watching out for that. And with that, Mr. Khurana, your closing remarks, followed by Dr. Mittal, your closing remarks.
Life is challenging. You need to see what best you can do out of that life. How flexible are you? How passionate you are, the perseverance, the challenges which has been thrown to you, and the most important thing is the individual social responsibility of what we are doing at Skills Reform. Is we see that okay, there are youth which needs to be trained on a lot of skills which we have giving them the bouquet of it in form of transition skills, social skills, transferable skills, growth mindset. People need to learn those skills only because future is we don't know what it will get us. We need to prepare each day for the future. So I think during this challenging time, as well as embracing the future, we need to be well prepared. And through growth mindset, it is one of the tool how you can grow in your life and how you can succeed in your life. be it an average student or an intelligent one. I have seen most of the average student have done best in their life. So whatever at stage you are at, you need to understand that you can make a difference in life if you have that perspective of more openness and growth mindset. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Dr. Mittal, over to you.
Yeah, Shantanu. For my closing remarks, I just want to add a few points here. Develop a growth mindset yourself, because nobody is going to come to you to develop your mind for the growth mindset. Next, allow failure. Take advantage of mistakes. Praise correctly. Put in hard work and ongoing vigilance to build the growth mindset, and love whatever you are doing and to continue in the time of difficulties also. And the most importantly, embrace the word yet. So I would like to close my talk by saying a very nice line of Carol Dweck: love challenges, be intrigued by mistakes, enjoy effort, and keep on learning. So thank you, Shantanu, for this platform and for this talk on growth mindset. And I think we all enjoyed a lot discussing on the growth mindset. Thank you, Shantanu.
It was a pleasure having you. So I would just take 30 seconds to summarize what we have, accumulated today. And I personally have accumulated a knowledge full of sheet. I probably have every pointer that I have heard from you experts. And some things that are striking today are: you need to have purpose. You need to reduce your stress. You need to be flexible. You need to be self-motivated. You need to fail, improve, and the most important is that you need to have hope. So with that, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to interact with such a panel, and definitely looking forward to more webinars of such nature. Thank you, Skills Reform. Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thanks, Shantanu.
Thank you. Thank you.